Solving equations with variables on both sides review. Our goal here is to use inverse operations to get all of the variables together on one side of the equation and all of the constants together on the other side. So there can be many steps involved when you're solving equations with variables on both sides, or there can be not that many. So it's really important that you break the equation down and you really look at what you have. The first step is always going to be to eliminate any parentheses or grouping symbols on either side of the equation by using the distributive property. Then you will combine like terms on either side of the equation. After that, you're going to use inverse operations to move all of the variables to one side of the equation. And then after that, use inverse operations to move all the constants to the other side of the equation. Once you do all of that, you should be left with just a simple one-step equation, so you will just solve. And then, of course, check yourself. That is so important. Substitute your answer back into the original equation and solve. So we're going to do a few examples. So here's an example of an equation with variables on both sides. There's no parentheses. It's not super challenging, but we do have like terms to combine. So I'm going to combine right here. I have 10, I have a negative 6x and a positive x, positive 1x. So that combines to be negative 5x. Equals, and then over here, I have a negative x and a negative 6x, which is negative 7x. So we're going to get all that combined, and then I want to move my variables to one side of the equation. You have the option to bring your 7x over here, or to bring your negative 5x over here. And that was a negative 7x, sorry. So it really doesn't matter. I personally don't care which side of the equation my variable is on. So since I have only one single constant and it's here, I'm going to just leave that alone. So I'm going to move my variables to the other side. So I'm going to make the choice to do this, which leaves me with 10 equals negative 2x. Divide by negative 2, and you end up with negative 5 being equal to x. And I want to show you, so I choose to move my variables away from the constant if I only have one constant, but if you really want to have your variables on the left side, this is what you would do. So you'll move the variables first. So on this side, you'll end up with 10 plus 2x, and you can't forget over here, this doesn't just disappear, this becomes 0. Subtract your 10, you end up with 2x equals negative 10, divide by 2, and you still get that answer of negative 5. So it's really just preference. It's really just whatever you feel comfortable with. We're going to come over here, and we have our variables. I'm going to go ahead and just stick the variables on the left-hand side now. So I have a 5k and a 4k. So if I subtract 5k from here and 5k from here, this disappears. Negative 3 minus k, or 1k, you can put the 1 there if you'd like, equals negative 11. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. I end up with negative k is equal to negative 8. And since I have a negative in front of my variable, I have to divide or multiply both sides by negative 1. So I'm going to end up with k is equal to 8. All right, example number 3, I have to distribute here. I have this negative out here that needs to be distributed to both of these terms. So once I do that, I end up with negative a plus 5 plus negative a on this side, and that's equal to negative 2 minus 3a over here on the right. So I have to do some like term combining here. I have two negative a's, so that's going to combine to be negative 2a plus 5 equals negative 2 minus 3a. I'm going to bring my variables to the left-hand side, so I'm going to add this 3a here and this 3a here, because again, it's inverse operations. That makes this cancel out. Over here, negative 2a plus 3a is just a, plus 5 equals negative 2. I'm going to subtract my 5 from each side, and we end up with a equals negative 7. And again, please go back through and check these when you're doing them on your own. Okay. Okay, last example over here. I'm not going to touch this negative 7n because I don't need it just yet, but I am going to distribute right here. So this becomes plus 7 plus 7n equals negative 5 plus 6n. Now what happens over here is this negative 7n plus 7n, when I combine those, I end up with 0. So all I'm left with over here is 7. So 7 equals negative 5 plus 6n. I don't need to move the variable to the left because I only have one variable right now. So I'm going to just add the 5 to both sides to get rid of the 5 over here. And we have 12 is equal to 6n. You divide by 6, and n is equal to 2, or 2 is equal to n. So this was your review on how to solve equations with variables on both sides.